Listen, you guys, if you want to share this out or just, get the word out, let people know about Radio Indie, let people know about Dividing Truth, tell people that they can download the app. All they have to do is search for Radio Indie on their Apple or Android device. They can go to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and just look for Radio Indie there. And they can also subscribe to the website, right? www.radioindie317.com. And listen, if you're out there and you have a show idea, you want to have your own platform, you have an event coming up maybe that you want the radio station to come out and cover, then email Radio Indie, and the email address is radioindie317@gmail.com. And we also want to let you know that you do have the ability to call in and share your thoughts or ask a question. And the call-in number is 317-257-7722. So again, that number is 317-257-7722. So in the first half of the show, we talked about the left side of the quadrant. And we talked about the top left side, which is the employee, right? That's the one way that you can earn income. That's clocking in and out, right, on a 9 to 5. And then we also talked about the self-employed, okay, which is a step up from the employee. The self-employed, they own a job, and we discussed why they own a job, right? Because it's like they have a business. Why are you saying they own a job? But we say if they don't come in, they don't make money, right? So then now we're talking about the right side of the quadrant, okay? So the top right side of the quadrant, now we're talking about the business owner, okay? So what's the difference between the business owner and the self-employed, okay? I'm glad you asked. The difference between the two, because there is really a difference. The difference between the two is that the business owner, first of all, they have a system, okay? So they have put systems and processes in place. Typically, a person who is self-employed hasn't necessarily done that, or they have them, but they're just kind of in their head. Like somebody couldn't just walk in and take over if they could not, show up for some time. Maybe they got ill or whatever, or, they just need to be gone for a little bit. Somebody should be able to walk in off the street and be able to pick up and move forward. And when you have systems and processes in place, that can be done, right? So they have systems and processes in place. The second thing that differentiates a business owner from the self-employed person is that they have a team of people that are working with them, okay? So it's not just them alone. Their business isn't dependent upon them solely showing up, okay? They have a team of people that they've trained in their mission, vision, and values and in their processes and systems that can run the show whether they are there or not. So that is what the difference is between one who is self-employed and one who is a business owner, okay? Now, when you become a business owner, with the business owner, that's when you begin to really enjoy time freedom, okay? Because as a self-employed person, yes, you may have some control over your time. You may decide what your hours are. You may decide, if you're going in to work or anything like that. But you still have to spend a whole lot of time working that thing because it's just you. So you don't have a whole lot of time freedom. But when you become a business owner, now you have time freedom. You've worked to a place where now you begin to have that time freedom. Again, because you don't have to be there. You have a team of people that are running things for you. They have to be there, but you don't have to be there. So now you have time freedom, right? Not only do you have time freedom, but now you have unlimited income potential. Okay? So just think about it. Let's just go back to the example of the hairstylist, right? So I'll say that this hairstylist is not just her. It's just not her in her one chair wherever she has it, whether it's in another building or whether it's in her basement or whatever. It's not just her in the one chair anymore. Now she has a, salon or a studio or whatever. She has about 4 or 5 other booths that she rents out to other stylists. And those stylists, they pay her a fee for allowing them to use the space, right? And so this stylist now, whether she shows up and does hair or not, she has income coming in, okay? So she has a team of people in that salon that are working, and she can still make income, okay? And when you begin to bring on a team of people, you have systems and processes in place. So the stylist, as the owner of the salon or studio or whatever, she will have trained the stylists that are coming in and renting from her, the culture of how she wants the atmosphere to be, the culture of the business and things of that nature. And so if the person is in alignment with that, then they can rent a booth and they can operate in there. But she's in control of that, right? And so she trains them in that. So when you move to that, now you're talking about, okay, yes, I can have time freedom and financial freedom, okay? So that's what makes a difference between the business owner and the self-employed, right? So what are some drawbacks, though, to being a business owner? What are some drawbacks? Because there's definitely, it's not an easy road. It's not an easy road at all, right? And a lot of people are very scared to move from self-employed to the business owner for a few reasons. So, for example, I was having a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about this whole notion of, growth. And I said, listen, if you want to grow, you're going to have to start bringing people on. Otherwise, you're not going to grow. You can't say you want to grow, but then you don't want to bring people on. And this particular person was, they had a fear of bringing people on. And, as business owners, maybe we have all kind of gone through this. You have a fear of bringing people on and they're not necessarily in line with your mission or vision, or it doesn't work out, or they do some damage, or they take your secrets, per se. I'm using my quotes. They take your secrets and they, share them everywhere. So people have a lot of fear when you start thinking about, okay, bringing on a team of people, right? And so having a team of people, sometimes there can be some drawbacks to that because it's almost, depending upon who you have, right? In the beginning, it can feel like raising kids because, it's like, okay, you got to manage people's, so I couldn't come in because I had this or that going on, or, if there's some conflict between a couple of people that you've got on your team or whatever. So sometimes it can feel like it's more trouble than it's worth. But you minimize that by having a really great onboarding process, which we're not talking about today. But I'm just talking about some drawbacks to being a business owner, if there are any drawbacks. And somebody can say for this too, that you can just flip all of the positive things about it, and those would be the drawbacks, right? So in essence, you are your own boss. That can be a drawback because depending upon, are you a disciplined person? Are you a motivated person to get things done? If you kind of give yourself some slack and you allow yourself to make excuses all the time and everything like that, then being your own boss may not be a good thing, right? So that could be, a drawback. The time freedom could be a drawback, which again, and that falls maybe under the discipline, but that could be a drawback. Maybe you need some structure, which again, that's fine. The simple answer to that is to create some structure for yourself, right? So those could be, for some people, drawbacks to being a business owner. Oh, and some people talk about, the fear of having to make payroll and pay people. That's a real thing. That is a real thing when you have the pressure of having to make sure that other people are paid. So that is huge. So there are, definitely some cons to business ownership, right? So then let's get to the last quadrant on the right side, on the bottom, and that is the investor, okay? So now the investor may or may not have businesses, but what they've done is this person they've created wealth, whatever that means, to them. It usually means a whole lot. They've created a whole lot of wealth because they got a whole lot of time freedom. They're really just living life, doing what they want to do. They don't ever have to show up for work. Ever. Okay? Don't ever have to show up for work. And that's the investor. That's that bottom right quadrant. And this person really can just take the wealth that they have created and just invest in other things. They can invest in other people starting businesses. They can invest in real estate. They can invest in, other paper assets or whatever. But they don't have to work. Their money now works for them completely. Okay? So that is the bottom right quadrant, the investor. I don't know if there are any drawbacks to that. Anybody out there can think of any drawbacks to that? Because people might say, well, I don't know if I ever not want to work. And so the investor, they don't not have to work, right? They just have full control over that. So I don't know. I don't know if there are any cons to that piece, right? But what we do know is that most people are on the left side of the quadrant. They're either employed or they're self-employed. That's most people, right? But if I ask the question, like, where do most people want to be? And oftentimes when I'm sitting down talking with people who are considering, starting a business or anything like that, a lot of people will tell you they want to be on the right side. So it's like, okay, well, if you want to be on the right side, and now we're going to get to our question of, is entrepreneurship for everyone? But it's like, if you want to be on the right side, what's keeping you from moving from the left side of the quadrant to the right side of the quadrant, right? So I'll get answers like, not enough money. And so whether that's money, to start up or whatever the case may be, not enough money. I'll get answers like knowledge, like they don't really know how to move from the left to the right. I get all kinds of answers. But the one thing that is at the bottom of all of the answers that anyone can ever come up with, and this is just my opinion, but I strongly believe the one thing that's at the bottom of it all is fear. Fear. Because there have been many examples of people who have started businesses and they didn't have a dime. Okay? Or they had 2 dimes. Or 10 dimes, So they have, so there's a lot of examples of that, right? There have been a lot of people who get out there and start businesses and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing, but they'll either get out there and make the mistakes and learn from them, or they'll hire someone to coach them and mentor them. But a lot of examples of that, right? So what I found is at the bottom of it all, there is fear. And so until there is, more pain to stay where you are than it is to change, then people will remain on the left side, right? So is entrepreneurship for everyone? So for most people who know me, most people know that there are a lot of topics where I don't have a straight yes or a straight no. There are very few topics where I have a hard line yes or a hard line no. And this is one of them. I know some people say, yeah, entrepreneurship is for everybody. If you just decide that's what you want to do and go after it, you can do it. And I'm like, yeah, I guess it's true if you make a decision to do it. But at the same time, if you're going to do it, you got to do it, right? Like, you got to be fully committed. You got to, you have to be responsible. You have to take ownership. You can't blame whatever happens with your business. It can't be blamed on the economy or blamed on, nobody, is, paying attention or this, that, or the other. You have to take full ownership of that thing, right? And so entrepreneurship may not be for everybody because there are people who don't want to take ownership of things, right? They don't want to. There are people who don't necessarily want to have to think through all of that. They rather just go where something's already established and do that. So, yeah, I don't think that entrepreneurship is for everyone. And, at the same time, I'm not giving it a hard line no either that it's not. I do agree with people when they say, like, hey, if you just make the decision to do it, because that's really what it is. It's just a decision to do it and a decision to be committed to it. But some people just, they don't, that's not, probably not their thing and will not ever be their thing. And that's fine. It's okay. So while I think, yes, everybody could be entrepreneurs, because we've already seen it when I gave you the history in the beginning of this show, that back before there were places where you can go to clock in and clock out, people had their own things, that everybody had their own thing, or a family was known for a certain thing or whatever. Everybody had their own thing. So yes, people can do it, but I just think that we've been conditioned that that's not the way. We've been conditioned to go clock in and clock out. And so now there's fear about doing your own thing. There's some fear about doing your own thing, right? So I think basically people just have to find where you are in those four things. And if you're content with where you are, then great. But if you're not content with where you are, then you got to understand what it takes to move. As if you're self-employed, like I said, and you want to grow and you want to have freedom of time and freedom of finances, you can't stay there. If you are in the 9-to-5 and you want freedom of time and freedom of your finances, you can't stay there, right? Or you could, but realize your freedom may come way at the end of the road. So, for example, the first, 12 to 18, 19 years, 21 years of our lives, we're getting educated, right? We are in school. Those first 12 to 21 years, we're in school. And then after that, when we come out, because we're conditioned to go work until we retire, then we go work for like another 45 years, 48 years, right? So all this time at school, all this time of being employed, so we could have about 10 years or 15 years, maybe 20, depending upon how long you live, of freedom. So for me, when somebody put it to me that way, I was just like, oh no. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be able to enjoy my life, in some of my great years. And not that our older years aren't great. I think they're all great in different ways. But I don't want to have to wait until I'm like 67 to start doing things that I want to do. That's just me. I don't know about you guys out there, but that's just me, right? So for me, I decided, okay, what's the better path? There's got to be a better way than going to school for 21 years of my life and then and then working another 40-something years. Also, I can have about 10 years, 15 years of freedom. So there's got to be a better way. And, I mean, I've seen people like die on the job. Literally die on the job. Okay? Literally and figuratively die on the job. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that. So for me, I said, okay, there has to be a better way. And so as you move through the quadrant, the way gets better. If your focus is that you want to have time freedom or that you want to have financial freedom. If that's what your focus is, if you're saying you want to have time freedom and freedom of finances, then staying on the left side of the quadrant is not an option. You got to move to the right side of the quadrant, okay? But if you're content with giving up your time, then fine. Stay on the left side of the quadrant. If you're content with giving up financial freedom, then stay on the left side of the quadrant, right? But if you're not content, then you've got to find a way to move to the right side. And, again, you don't have to just, some people just, I quit. I'm out of here. And they just, dive off the diving board. Like, you don't have to do that. There are some people who do. And, God bless those people too, but they can handle that type of risk, right? Usually those are people who can really handle the risk and really handle the ups and downs. If that's not you, don't go jump off the diving board, right? Just start a little bit at a time. Start with, okay, something small, maybe you're just doing something, in your home on the weekends or whatever. But start small and then just continue to grow it and continue to grow it. Continue to grow it. And obviously, if you want true time freedom, then you've got to have systems and processes, and you've got to bring people on. So don't be afraid of that. Then just go learn how to do it in the best way possible, right? Go learn how to do it. The reason why we have fear too is because we really don't have we don't really have the knowledge or a step by step or something like that. But the information's out there. Go and get it. Okay, go and get it. I don't know. That's all that I have to share in terms of is entrepreneurship for everybody. You guys have heard my answer. I think it's yes and no. Yes and no. It all depends. What do you want out of life? Where are you? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to give up? Because definitely going from the left to the right, there's a sacrifice. But don't be fooled. There's a sacrifice for staying on the left, too. There's truly a sacrifice for staying on the left. All right. So I want to thank all of you who have tuned in today. Those of you who have joined, by Facebook and left your comments. Thank you for stopping by. Those of you that are listening via the app, thank you for tuning in. And those of you who are listening on the website, thank you for going to the website and tuning in. I want to remind you that if you have a show idea and you want to have your own platform, or you have an event coming up that you want Radio Indy to cover, email radioindy317@gmail.com. And again, share with people how they can listen to Radio Indy, and that's by downloading the app or following on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And of course, going to the website, www.radioindy317.com. You've been listening to The Dividing Truth with the Mag7. I am Lexi Jones, international speaker, master business coach, and profit strategist. And we'll see you next Thursday at 4:00 p.m. Eastern.